Louis Carter here. Thought I'd jump on in regards to the popular question that's going around in regards to people asking in their thousands online, are property prices going down in the UK? My background is in property. I'm a property investor and landlord. And what I'd like to do is give you a breakdown in regards to my opinion. Now, working in the industry, traveling around the world a little bit, speaking to people from all different corners of the UK as well as abroad. So I'd just like to give you a bit of a lowdown in regards to my thoughts and feelings in regards to what's going on, see if it might be helpful. And this isn't financial advice by any means. It's just my own personal experience in regards to what's going on and how you might be able to benefit and win, come out on top in the end. So my background, I'm a property investor, landlord, property since 2009, and was lucky enough, basically, I don't come from monies, but basically I was lucky enough to be able to acquire property at a very young age in my teens. And at the time it was the height of the recession, so it's a time when everyone was saying don't buy. Anyway, fast forward, I was able to hold on to that property, use the equity generated from it to buy a larger property, and within a short amount of time on that property, holding that property appreciated in value. I was able to refinance that, take out that capital, invest it into a property. So this isn't me, heavily paying down the mortgage or anything like that. It's just the way property prices have increased. Personal to me and where I am, it doesn't happen all over the place. I was able to then buy another property, and rental yield is good over 7%, which is above inflation. More standard inflation, obviously it rocketed after COVID and the Russia situation, and return on capital employed is much higher than that. But I won't go into that because that sort of thing seems to scare people off. Those sort of situations can happen if you buy into the power of compounding interest and compounding investing. So in regards to what's going on in the UK, typically with the general market, yes, property prices have gone down in value. Now, that's a surface level answer. In regards to typically what happens on the open market, typically prices that estate agents are advertising for, those properties don't sell for them prices. And we're talking residential prices here, but this is standard family homes. So it's a given and it's industry standards that estate agents inflate prices of properties. Now, what we're seeing on more of a microscopic, a zoomed in scale in regards to what's happening at the minute, there is a bit of a downturn in property, but with all assets and investment classes, assets go up and down in value. So what we're seeing now is a bit of a lull. And in the general scheme of things, it's about 3% drop. So property prices estate agents typically sell are 6% lower than what they're advertised for initially. And then if you minus 3% off that, that's roughly what you should be paying for a property when it's first gone on the market. Depends on your area, depends on the size, depends on the condition. But that's a gist of what's going on in regards to and how you should be responding, your sort of attitude when you are looking for that standard family home out there. I'll go into my speciality because there's other ways that I am a magnet for discounted property deals, residential that is, but also just to give you more of a handle in regards to what the situation is. I've touched on already, there's a bit of a lull in the property market. There's a bit of excitement and noise coming from America. Trump 2.0, he's a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons. He's poo-pooing on Europe, immigration, stuff like that. These are a factor. These are draining our taxes and stuff like that. But there is more of a background in regards to why that's going on and how much of an impact that's having. Now, that sort of thing just makes sure you assess the sort of area you're looking to live in, where you take your kids to school, and where you invest and stuff like that. So we do have immigration, but it doesn't affect the whole of the country. So you do have the power to influence that affecting you directly or not. In regards to America though, is that typically what happens over there affects London first, and then it spreads out to the rest of the UK. So if the interest rates increase or drop down in America, they typically have a ripple effect in regards to what happens over here. Typically, we'll find that London market gets affected first. If confidence drops with the government in America and the UK, then property prices typically at the higher end of the scale, with multi-million pound properties, they typically drop straight away. The rest of the country, it's not as drastic in regards to that drop. So if the media gets excited with property prices dropping in London, it's typically at the very high scale. So it's fine. But ultimately with American stuff like that, and the governments, unless they stop the fiscal policy, property prices will ultimately bounce back again. And in regards to that, there has been the rollout from Trump where he signed it to basically be legal for there to be some kind of cryptocurrency that's recognized by banks in America. I think that does disturb things, but because of the volume of older generation that just aren't going to be catching on to crypto anytime soon, I think it'll be probably at least 10 years before that sort of thing disrupts the fiscal banking system that we've got. Therefore, interest rates, therefore, things will balance out shortly enough, I reckon. Other parts of the world that are doing well with their housing, so I touched on immigration earlier, so in regards to the volume of people coming into this country, I'll talk about people leaving as well, but in regards to people coming into the country, it does put a strain. So we are an island, we are dictated by how much land we can build on, and we do have stringent planning policies that really delay us building the quantity of houses that we do need. However, going on to a perfect scenario where the government builds droves and hundreds of thousands of social housing to help ease that situation, both for us and immigrants. I mean, what that looks like, the best example of that I've seen is in Vienna. They're building big developments on old airfields, stuff like that, where it is plausible. The cost of land is a factor. They'll ask the builders, the developers, to bid for being able to buy the land and build on there, which I think is actually quite good. And there's a real interest for there to be good quality buildings that are cheap and functional and actually serve a purpose to help bond that community all together. But in reality, what that looks like is these buildings are 5 to 8 stories high. You are able to ask how the property is designed for you and your family. Like, everybody wants a spare room for an office now these days, stuff like that. So that's working over there. Your rents can be cheaper because that's a factor that they look at the front end in regards to these developments. But typically, there's nowhere to park your car. You have to ride a bicycle. It's a trade-off. So the best example of a country being able to deal with their volume of people coming into the country or lack of housing is in Vienna, where they are building these big social housing developments. But in the UK, we have such a pride over owning our own property. And at the same time, that's combined with there being a lack of space for people to build on. So these combinations, and as well the upward trend in volume of people coming into this country, and all of that combined with our strong legal system around owning a property compared to what you won't get in other countries, even in like Colombia, stuff like that. But your cost of living over there is almost half what it would be. So you could go out for a meal for 2 of you for £4. You can go out for a luxury meal for £25, and your rent for a 3-bed house in the city could be as low as £200 to £600. There's an abundance of options out there. People can try and poo-poo on the UK and stuff like that, but there's good reason for it. So yes, we've got crime here and there. You can obviously do your research in regards to where lower and higher crimes are. In regards to the UK, we do have this legal system. People do take care of their properties. There are businesses that are based here. Logistically, we are based between America and the East. So people like to invest here because logistically you can actually fly in and meet people from the other side of the world, and it's a middle point, for example. So there are cheaper places, but logistically we're good. Legal system, we're good. Cost of living, it is high, but there's a point where if you are looking at places like Dubai, stuff like that, there's a factor of diminishing returns. So yes, you can buy a property cheaper, off plan. Quality of house property you're looking at though isn't going to be the same as the UK, for example, where you do have your own attic, your own garden, your own shed, your own driveway, your own views, stuff like that. If you buy somewhere that possibly could go up in value in Dubai, one day you're in an apartment and you've got views, and then the next year they've developed an apartment right in front of yours, right in front of your balcony. So you've got no view, you're looking into other people's properties, but your property's gone up in value. So do you want that? In the UK, would you find that? Probably not. Would you benefit financially though in places like Dubai, stuff like that, where there's ultra modern property and developments going on? Of course. It's always just a trade-off. So here in the UK, we've got a lot of good factors going on. We're going through a bit of a lull. Taxes are going up, wages are creeping up very slowly. There's a little bit of a surplus of rental properties being offered on the market compared to how many people are looking. And we do need more houses. Typically with property sales at the minute is that there's an interest for people to acquire nice luxury, good quality property. So people aren't looking to spend good money on properties that are tired or suffering from defects and stuff like that. People will pay top dollar, but the property has to be good. People can't sell half decent properties at a good price, and they know how much it costs to get the sort of building works done because the cost of building and construction has gone up. So people aren't bothering to do the work, so they have to sell lower. So that's affecting property prices. That's a factor. And we want nice houses because we want to move straight in, be able to get on with our job, live our daily lives and look good on social media with our nice sofas and general IKEA or whatever it is that you're looking to show off on social media. So good quality properties will move, and that's the interest. And when you are looking to perhaps buy a property, make sure it goes up in value, make sure that it is done to a higher end, or at least look at the market and make sure yours is just above that, which is what I do with my rental properties. So I hope that's been useful. And in regards to the factor of me being able to be a magnet for off-market discounted properties, so I'm based in South Coast England, focusing in the Poole area, postcode specific, got estate agents passing me leads, as well as finding off-market value as well. These are typically probate properties where sometimes you can benefit from not paying any stamp duty, depending on what you want to do with the property. I can help people who are looking to build a portfolio quite aggressively, where you want a hands-off solution for that, or as well as finding good property opportunities for people who are looking for a property to live in, and then maybe sell the property, improve the next property, and then just build up capital slowly that way. My own property, again, I've benefited from rental income, capital appreciation. There's going to be rental increases I can benefit from. And then, of course, you can also add value to the property as well through construction work. So property is really powerful. That's why I'm passionate about it. Regardless of what's going on in America, interest rates, people do need a place to stay. People do want good quality properties. I've dealt with £1.7 million worth of refurbishment work and construction, so I'm very comfortable with being able to piece together a good quality product for the rental market, or as a flip where people can benefit from forced capital appreciation, be able to take that money, invest in further property, build a legacy for you and your family, and actually have something that you're proud of and be able to ease you out of your perhaps full-time job where you're a busy working professional and you'd rather live somewhere warmer 3 to 6 months of the year. If you're not interested in the Bournemouth and Poole area, I know people in London, I know people up in Leeds, I know people in Hertfordshire, I know people in the Midlands, I know people in Wales, Birmingham, abroad, Dubai. So if I can't help you, I'm sure somebody else can. And on that same note, if you know anybody with property deal, which might be suitable for me in the Bournemouth and Dorset area, please let me know. I'll be happy to help.